Long ago, there lived a shoemaker. Now, the shoemaker was a master craftsman, but he did not have much money to show for his work. The shoemaker would spend each day cutting, polishing, lacing and sewing his shoes. Can you do that with me? Can you cut and polish, lace and sew to make the most wonderful shoe? Can you? You ready? So cut and polish, lace and sew to make the most wonderful shoe. In fact, the shoemaker was doing so badly that the day came when he had enough money to buy just enough leather for one more pair of shoes. He sadly laid the leather upon his workbench and went to bed. In the morning, imagine his surprise when on his workbench he found a marvellous pair of shoes, which, when the shop opened that morning, a fine gentleman bought for twice as much money as anybody else would pay for them. And with the money, the shoemaker was able to buy enough leather for 2 new pairs of shoes. He laid the leather upon the workbench and went to bed. Can you go to sleep with me? You ready? So put your hands together, close your eyes and and wake up with a yawn. Imagine his excitement when the next morning 2 pairs of shoes were found upon the workbench, which, when the shop opened that morning, a fine lady was prepared to buy for twice as much money as anybody else will pay for them. And so this went on. Every night he went to sleep. And every morning, there were new pairs of shoes on his workbench. Somebody was cutting and polishing, lacing and sewing marvellous pairs of shoes. Can you do that with me? Cut and polish, lace and sew to make the most marvellous shoes. The shoemaker decided to find out who. One night, when he laid the leather on his workbench, he went and hid at the back of his workshop. And as the clock struck midnight, they appeared. These funny little men, wearing pointy hats and pointy shoes. They were, in fact, elves. As soon as they entered the workshop, they went to work. They cut and polished, laced and sewed to make the most wonderful shoes. Can you do that with the elves? Are you ready? So cut and polish, lace and sew to make the most marvellous shoes. Having watched the elves, the shoemaker was very grateful and decided he would give them a gift in return. It was almost Christmas, and in the days leading up to that great festival, the shoemaker spent his evenings cutting and polishing, lacing and sewing to make the most wonderful set of clothes. Do you think you could help me make the clothes? Are you ready? So cut and polish, lace and sew to make the most wonderful clothes. On Christmas Eve, the shoemaker laid the clothes on his workbench, and went to hide at the back of his shop. And when the clock struck midnight, they appeared with their pointy hats and their pointy shoes, the elves. And as they went over to the workbench, they were overjoyed to see each had a beautiful set of clothes, with hats and waistcoats, shirts and trousers and shoes, all beautifully made by the shoemaker. They laughed and danced and disappeared into the night. The shoemaker never saw the elves ever again, but he also never forgot the kindness that they had shown to him. Give yourselves a big pat on the back and take a round of applause. I hope you enjoyed that story. Bye-bye for now.